my friend Gabe Zacchai. Let's give him a warm round of applause.
Good evening. As Seth mentioned, my name is Gabriel Zacchai. I'm the producer-director of ForkTale, amazingly enough. Yeah, I got involved with ForkTale at the last, what he just said, at the last event we did up at Beach Hill. And before I met him on the trail, we have differing memories of this. He must have blocked out the one I'm going to tell you because it was even more disturbing to him somehow than the one on the trail, because that was in the dark. It was probably, scarier to see me in the dark. But right after the show, like my wife saw the advertisement at the last minute for ForkTale, like maybe many of you here tonight did, and she said, "You need this in your life, you need this in your life, you see this, you need this in your life," and as usual, she was right. And I've been saying I needed this in my life. It was a gap that I felt like needed to be filled in the community, and just something that I needed to do, desperately. And so I went to the show. I was completely bowled over by it. And at the end of the show, I went up and found this guy, Seth Silverton, and I grabbed his hand, and I said, "I want to be on this, I want to be in this, I want to be in this, I want to be on." And instead of calling the police or having me escorted out of the building, he offered me the job of being director-producer, down the line a bit. So I didn't know. I was like, I don't have a whole lot of time in my life. It's kind of full, but it was really a no-brainer. I talked it over with my wife and accepted, and here we are. And I'm so happy that everybody is here tonight. Because this, for me, this needs to continue. I need it to continue. I need a place to act out. Because I'm tired of ending up in HR at work, being told that that's not really the way that we want to convey that. It comes across as sort of passive-aggressive. Anyway, tonight I'm going to tell a story called Rockstar. I was 25 years old when I decided I needed to be a rock star. If there's one thing that I've been terrible at my entire life, it's being alone. But when I was 25, living in Tucson, Arizona, I found myself alone for the first time in a very long time, and everything pretty much disintegrated from there. I was 6 months behind on my rent. I was getting evicted. They were taking me to court. And I broke up with my girlfriend. I had a crappy job I didn't like. So I quit everything all at once. And I figured that the money I had, what I had, wasn't much, but it would be better spent, rather than give it to some court clerk somewhere and watch it go poof. I thought it would be a lot more fun and a lot less lonely to form a band and go on tour instead. So I knew a drummer. He called himself Clams. And he had an older brother that lived in Fort Collins, Colorado. And he had said that if we could put together a demo tape, he could book us on a tour of Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana. So, Clams played the drums, I played guitar, we needed a bass player. We figured it would be a lot easier to get a bass player if we already had a tour booked. Musicians are notorious for being, for delivering. They're very wishy-washy. So if we had a tour, we figured we could get somebody. So I took my crappy little 4-track recorder, and Clams and I recorded a demo tape where I played everything and sang everything, played everything but the drums. We sent it off, booked the tour, and then we went off into the Tucson open mic night to find a bass player who wanted to go on tour with Galactic Prophylactic Function. GPF for short. That was our name. It was Clams' idea, but I went along with it, so I share the guilt and the blame. Amazingly enough, we found a bass player. His name was Josh. So we had a band. All we needed was a tour vehicle because between the 3 aspiring rock stars that we were, we had 3 bikes. Bicycles, not motorcycles. So for $400, I bought a 1974 VW bus with a 1975 Mercury Capri V6 sports car engine shoved into it backwards. It had a radiator off the back, glass pack mufflers, big wheels on the back, little wheels on the front. It was like some Scooby-Doo mystery machine nightmare. I didn't bother to register or insure the bus because it already had plates on it from my friend Dean, in Dean's name, and a registration in the glove box with Dean's name. Everything was up to date, wasn't expired. What's the worst thing that could happen there? So I went back and packed everything I owned after the pawn shop into my new home on wheels, bought a 12-gauge shotgun to help me sleep at night, and drove off into the sunset toward Colorado, all by myself, where we were supposed to meet after a Christmas break, where everybody disbanded. We're all going to come back together. Well, the coolant system on the bus, as you might know, Volkswagen buses are air-cooled. This was no longer air-cooled. It was liquid-cooled, and the coolant system on the bus exploded, straight out exploded, 3 times before I even got across the state line. And as luck would have it, there was no reverse at all. So I had to be very careful where I parked at night to sleep in it, in the reservation, truck stops, you know. But within a few days, I got to Colorado and we went on tour. Now, as I said, this is a Volkswagen bus. It is small. I gotta load it up so that the sliding door on the side barely closes, right? We got 3 guys, all their gear, full drum kit, our road manager, everything we own, a ton of beer, and a 12-gauge shotgun, all inside a ridiculous-looking hippie bus that sounds like a race car with no insurance, no registration, and no reverse. So there was very little restraint in the way of drugs and alcohol, or sleep, or anything. It was the quintessential rock star life. Except for the fact that we really weren't very good, which made us want to party that much harder every night. So one morning, I wake up on the floor of this Casper, Wyoming hotel room, and I look at the clock, and it's 11 o'clock, and I realize that our next gig is in Montana, and we are way behind schedule. So I take a shortcut through Yellowstone National Park, promptly blow out a tire, hold up traffic for 2 hours, 2-lane road in the middle of a field. I fix the tire, we lose the transmission linkage at a toll booth. I fix that with a coat hanger, and by this time the sun's really going down. And we're pulling off the highway into this little town to get gas, and it's getting late. So I get gas, I get back in the bus, start it up, ready to go, when I see the blue lights. Pulls up behind us in the gas station. Walks up to the side of the car. Sir, please shut off the vehicle. I shut off the vehicle. I'd like to see license, registration, proof of insurance. Well, I hand him Dean's registration and my license, and then I proceed to rummage about in the glove box for a very long time, searching in vain for the insurance card that I know doesn't exist in the first place, and I'm sweating, and he puts up with this for a little while before he says, okay, what's the story here? Holds up my license and Dean's registration. So I tell him the story, which I make up on the spot, which is my friend Dean loaned us the bus so that we could go on tour. We're going to use the money that we make to, play music, to buy the bus and pay the insurance and get and the cops like, not buying this at all. Not at all. He says, please step out of the vehicle, sir. So I step out of the vehicle, and he asks me, do you have any weapons to declare? Being the good, solid citizen that I am, I tell him about the 12-gauge shotgun in the back of the truck. He said, hey, please open the vehicle, sir. So I walk around the back, and I pull the sliding door of the bus open, and Jamie, our road manager, literally flows out of the door onto the concrete, drunk off his ass. There's an open container, half consumed, on the floor, container of whiskey, next to the beanbag he rides on. And it's at this moment that the cop tells me the reason that he is here is that he got a call because some guys in a Volkswagen bus drove off without paying for their gas. That's not us. We paid for our gas. What are the odds? So he's rummaging around in the bus. Everybody's outside the bus now. We got Jamie upright against the bus. And we're all just looking at our feet. Nobody's saying a word. I cannot even imagine a scenario in my mind in which we are not completely screwed. I'm ready for, please put your hands against the vehicle. I'm ready for handcuffs. I'm ready to go to jail in nowhere, Montana. But instead, the cop starts walking across the street, motioning for us to follow him. So we follow him across the street and through the doors of this small convenience store. We go through the doors, and there's this beautiful young girl behind the counter. And it's clear from her face she's been watching this entire thing unfold, this entire insane clown car madness unfold from across the street. She's got nothing better to do, so. And I walk in and our eyes meet. And the look on my face must have been the most desperate, pleading, pathetic look ever. And I can see that she's trying desperately not to laugh. Cop says, "Are these the guys?" She says, "No." I say, "Thank you." And we all wave and we follow the cop back across the street to the bus. So it's official. We're not stealing gas. However, we are driving around in a vehicle with an open container and a firearm with no registration, no insurance, absolutely no legal connection whatsoever to anyone that is riding in it. For all intents and purposes, we could have killed the owner, stolen the bus, and just driven away, and here we are. We are criminals. We are illegal. And my little fantasy world where I do everything my way and always get away with it is crumbling before my eyes. And I'm buckling, and I feel like I could just seriously vomit on this cop's shoes. I look up at him, and like the girl in the store, I can see he's trying not to laugh. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's a maniac cop. He's thinking of terrible things to do to us in the middle of nowhere, Montana. And instead of doing any of those things, he turned his back on me, walked past me, placed my license and registration, Dean's registration, on the dashboard of the bus, and with his back turned, waved, and got in his car and drove away. So we are free. Free to go. Free to continue doing stupid things at our convenience. But there is one problem. We have no money. It's all been spent on hotel rooms and gas and beer and things much more bad than beer, and the show must go on. We have no choice. We managed to perform the rest of our shows without getting pulled over by the cops, amazingly. But by the time we played our last show in Vail, Colorado, we all wanted to kill each other. We were just glad it was over. It was terrible. We happily disbanded and all went in different directions after the last gig. So, I didn't spend the money I made playing that music to register the bus or get insurance. Instead, I drove 2,000 miles east to Maine. And like any great, intrepid explorer, in pure Kerouacian style, I went to my mom's house. Because I didn't want to be alone. So, as I'm rounding the very last left-hand turn in a journey made up of thousands of them through the mountains all over the West Coast, last left-hand turn to my mom's house, I downshift into second gear, a gear that had been popping out a little, giving us some trouble. And the transmission exploded. Exploded, there's no other word for it. I will never forget the sound it made. It was like a chandelier being dropped from a third-story balcony onto concrete. The transaxle locked, the rear wheels locked, skidding me into a ditch, headfirst, unharmed. If that had happened while we were going 60 miles an hour in a mountain pass, well, I walked the remaining 500 feet to my mom's driveway, laughing my ass off. And I got up in the morning, borrowed $50 from my mom, promised her I'd get a job. So much for being a rock star, but we never were very good anyway. Thank you.